It's a kingdom lifestyle that is both focused and balanced. Welcome to Live Exceptionally. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with demands on our time and attention, it can be difficult to find the space to truly live our best lives. But what if we could find a way to live exceptionally with a sense of purpose, freedom, and rest? Whether you're a busy professional, a stay-at-home parent, or anyone who wants to live a more focused and balanced life, this show is for you. Join us as we discover how to live exceptionally, finding freedom and rest along the way. Now, let's get into this week's episode of Live Exceptionally with Dr. Evonne Thompson.
Welcome back to Live Exceptionally. I'm Dr. Evonne, your host, founder of Elisi, and author of Can You Sleep Like This in the Rest of God and Reflections on Rest. We can always find excuses not to exercise. I find them every week, whether it be a lack of time, family, job, or ministry obligations. But here today to debunk these myths and help us get kick-started into better health, which leads to better mental health, is Kimberly Tesmer. She's a certified fitness instructor and leads education's classes at the Synergy Health Center in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And she also owns her own fitness business. Let's tune in. It's good to have you here. It's about 30 degrees in Chicago, and your background there looks exceptionally warmer than here.
Yes, it's about 75 degrees. I happen to be spending a few days in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So
Awesome.
I'm sending warmth your way.
Yes, thank you. So as a fitness instructor, what do you think are the key myths related to believers and fitness?
So, that's just such a great question. And I think not only as believers, but just as a society in general, that we start to buy into our excuses that we give ourselves to not move, to not do better. Whether it's, it's hard, I don't have enough time, it hurts, my back has this, or I have this, so I can't do that. When we buy into those excuses, it limits our ability to be healthy. It limits our longevity. It limits our energy that we can put into other things in life in general. So, buying into our fears is probably the biggest thing that I think stops people from getting started.
When you say buying into fear, what the fear of doing something different, fear a little bit more about
believing in what you can't do, or focusing on what you can't do versus what you can do. If it's easy, then we'd all be super healthy. There'd be no healthcare system. There'd be no reason for, insurance and hospitals, right? So to understand that it's not necessarily easy, but it can be simple. And the fact that it's very important, and don't give yourself, we give ourselves, we give ourselves excuses to not move in a different way. It kind of turns into, I see a lot since, I've been certified in fitness since 2008, and I was also a Division I athlete in college. So from high school all the way through graduation, strength and fitness and movement was a big part of my life. And I always had a lot of friends that's like, oh, you look so great, but I just don't have the time to do this. I got a bad knee, so I can't run. Well, running doesn't have to be your thing. It can be aerobics. It can be, stretching. It can be push-ups and sit-ups. It can be so many different things that don't require, really, it doesn't require a lot of time. It requires consistency.
Okay, that's good. So, and related to that, when you think about these myths or the things that people tell you or say, how do we go about debunking these myths, or what's your perspective of how to get rid of these myths?
Honesty,
Mm.
to be honest with yourself. And if you're not happy with where you are or how you feel, you have to do something different. The only way to do that is to be honest, to, go to the doctor and get the blood work, find out what your body mass index should be. And that's kind of loosely, there's issues with that chart and what it considers to be obese and morbidly obese. Like I would be considered a 6'1", 180-pound woman. In that chart, I'm considered like morbidly obese.
Oh, wow.
But
You're
so
not.
but understanding, yeah, your blood work and what your levels are and how to get those levels in check, and just your level of energy. So to move in a different way, we're getting rid of the what is it, the insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different
Right.
results, right? If you're not happy with where you are, you have to do something different.
Right.
You 100% have to do something different. You have to move. It has to increase your heart rate, and it's not easy, but the consistency, once it becomes a habit, I think it's like 21 days to make a habit, 3 days to break it. So you have to set that goal to do that movement, or take the class, or get a personal trainer, or get a buddy that's willing to walk with you. If you're already a walker, walk faster, add a jog in, do something in addition to what you're already doing, or start doing something. And again, it can be 10 or 15 minutes a day. But when you set that goal of however many, at least 21 days, I like to set a goal of 30 days, and be honest about how you feel. But you have to do it every day. So that honesty with yourself, get on the scale, know where you're starting with. Don't just assume that, I want to lose weight. How much weight do you want to lose? Set the goal. The healthy weight loss in females is 1 to 2 pounds a week. If it happens fast, or you find something that falls off fast, everybody's doing these like diabetes shots. That's not sustainable and not healthy. The healthy way is slow and steady. And that's, I think, what we also get caught up in, is that it's not happening fast enough, or it's too late.
Yeah, I think sometimes the whole trying to lose weight real fast ties more to like dieting. Whereas when you do it slow and steady, it relates to more of a lifestyle change. And I
Exactly.
think that's something that I learned a while back in regards to, it's more lifestyle, like how I
Yes.
eat. The exercise is the hurdle that I continue to battle with, and it's like even just learning the benefit. But as I get older, I'm starting to feel it more,
Yes.
especially by sitting at a desk all day, because I do
Yeah.
have a desk type job. I'm not up and moving around. And because I can be so focused on my work, or so focused on getting things done, I
Yes.
will start to feel like tense, like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? I realized I've been sitting for hours and haven't moved.
Yes.
And even now, trying to be more conscious of like at least every hour or so to
Mm-hmm.
get up and move, and even trying to like this makeshift standing desk that I have to stand up and work. Because when I'm in the office, there is like an electronic desk that raises and lowers, so
So
I can
good.
actually stand up when I'm working. But when I'm at home, I don't have that electronic desk, so I've like
Mm-hmm.
things that I makeshift into a desk. But I noticed that when I do that and stand for a couple hours, I just feel significantly better
Yes.
versus just sitting for
Mm-hmm.
long periods of time.
Yes, that is so true, and that's a great point. Another little trick that I've always used, because I'm home based, is that they have those big exercise balls, like the big ones.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
Sit on that instead of a chair, because then you're constantly trying to right yourself to stabilize your core. So that's
Mm,
really, really good way. And stabilizing your core takes away spinal issues. It your core, that's your support, right? So
right.
that's even just the start. And then, set your watch, and everybody has Apple watches, or, you know, smartphones.
Right.
you can set in your health settings, you can set an alarm for every hour to remind you to stand up. And it's a shame that sometimes my phone's like, oh, it's time to stand up. And I'm like, have I been sitting that long? Because we get caught up into whatever we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But setting those kind of reminders, parking in the farthest spot from the grocery store. And I know it's hard when it's 30 degrees. It's easier to say when you're in Florida at 70 degrees. But when you dress appropriately, you're moving. Take the stairs instead of the elevator, and if it's 10 flights up, take the stairs for 3 flights or 2 flights, or start small and then take the elevator. But the most important thing is starting and being aware and being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to be.
And when you talk about weighing yourself, that was another thing, because we both were speakers at a women's conference, and I had shared that I still am on a not fitness, but health management program.
Yes.
And one of the things that we have to do is weigh ourselves every day. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I would avoid that because I'm like, okay, I just weighed myself yesterday. Nothing has changed material since yesterday. But I remembered I had asked during your session, like, what's the point of weighing yourself every day? And you had mentioned, and I want you to repeat it, that it's good to gauge where you are. And I
Yes.
do notice that, like, if I get on the scale and I weigh myself, and then the next day I weigh myself and I gain 1 pound, it's just like, oh, I need to be more conscious of what I eat today versus what I ate. Like, what did I eat yesterday that's allowing me why I gained that 1 pound? Like, I'm just more aware. Where when it goes down, like, woo, so I'm going to eat less today.
Yes. And it's so funny that you say that, because even me, the years that I'm in fitness, I still do this. And, there's a healthy balance. We don't want that to turn into an obsession, especially for women. And we kick ourselves when we're down, like if we gain 3 pounds. Now, hormones play a big part in it. Stress plays a big part in it, in your weight. But when you weigh yourself every day, track it, write it down, the day of the week. It should always be at the same time every day for consistency. I usually do it first thing. I get up in the morning, use the bathroom, hop on the scale. I take off as much stuff as I can to get on the scale, because some days it's like, ooh, I know what I did. I know what I did last night for dinner. I ate too late or something. But that consistency, and then you can track, and then you can see trends in your body, whether it's with ovulation or this time of the month, I seem to always gain 3 pounds. It's consistent. And then you can, again, because you have that knowledge, now you can figure out what you can do to change it, because we know that it's not all about weight, right? Muscle weighs more than fat, but it takes up less space. So I have a lot of friends that are skinny fat. They have no muscle on their body. And I could, and I have friends that are thick fit, and I'm in the thick fit category. I have muscle is on the skeleton. And again, like I said, it weighs more, but it takes up less space. And doctor that I follow, Dr. Lyon, has always said, and it's a quote that I use all the time, but it's like, the more healthy muscle mass an individual has, the greater survivability across all disease states. Building muscle, pushing and pulling, whether it's push-ups, 3 or 5 pound weights. And that's another myth. People's like, I don't want to work out because I don't want to get big. You're not going to, generally it won't happen unless you're powerlifting, so don't, again, limit yourself with that belief. High weights or high reps, low weight keeps a slender muscle. If you're lifting real heavy weights for short reps, that's going to build the thickness of the muscles. But to be able to survive, have greater survivability over all disease states, we need muscle on our body. And that's not something that you can build up and then just stop. Right. So just like you said, it's a lifestyle change. You start this journey, it is literally never ending, but our lives are worth it. Our ability to, connect and do the things that we want to do with ease, whether it's with grandchildren or children or in the ministry, going door to door, being available and healthy to do the work that we want to and that we need to do. We need muscle.
Right. Talk some more about the benefit and the value of fitness and moving the body, because we hear a lot about like we need to do it, it's important, but even from a ministry perspective, hone in a bit more on the benefit and the value of not just the fitness, but just get moving.
Yeah, to just, I mean, to it gives us energy to do more. And yes, it takes time. Um, Time won't just open up. So scheduling time, I believe, is very, very important. And this is what I've experienced over life. I've always been in fitness and my weight goes up and down, like after kids, and then in between times where I just kind of fall off the wagon, right? It's being able to continually get back on. But um, fitness, health, and wellness affects energy levels. So who doesn't want energy? And we have to sometimes force ourselves. And I mean, a lot of times we do. We have to force ourselves or set aside that time to move so that we can have the energy. It's going to help you sleep better. Um, Movement, if any, it could be dance, it could be walking, it could be jogging, it could be group classes at a dance studio or gym. It doesn't have to be um, a crazy like CrossFit. That's always kind of the thing I stayed away from. I was like, I don't know how flipping tires is gonna is gonna help me. But there's this, there's a huge movement of people that love to do kind of the off the beaten path kind of thing. But to find a way to move that exerts, and when you do it on purpose,
Mm.
you build stress resiliency, which helps mental health. So one of the things that I do to build stress resiliency is every morning, when I'm not in Florida, because it's almost impossible to find cold enough water, is that I get and I do a cold plunge.
Wow.
Every day I don't want to do it, but every morning I do it. And that is the hardest thing that I've done all day. And nothing else bothers me because for 7 minutes, my body was trying to survive and basically fighting for my life, and everything else falls away. Any stresses, anything that I didn't get to, conversations that needed to be had, none of that matters. The focus is solely on surviving the 7 minutes in an ice bath.
Wow.
So to be able to build that stress resiliency, and so then again, it makes everything easier, everything better. Your relationships, um, it just, I think it makes the biggest, that has made one of the biggest differences in my life. And I've been doing it for almost a year now,
Mm.
every morning, and every morning I try to talk myself out of it, but I hold myself accountable with that honesty that this is what I need to do. Days that I do miss it, like sometimes I'll take Sundays off, and then I found myself really, really looking forward to Sundays because I didn't have to do it. I'm like, okay, I need to do it every now and then to just kind of get out of that, uh, get out of the habit and keep it, kind of changed up a little bit. So, but
Right.
it helps your overall health, your overall mental health, your overall mood. It increases, dopamine, which it's like sunshine. So when you move and exert yourself on purpose, it raises that stress resilience. It raises, all those important hormones that your body needs to have the energy and to be
Right.
able to sleep well. So,
And I think sometimes we I think we miss, I know for myself, like I know that exercise is good, I know that I need to do it, but like just getting over lethargy, getting over
mhm,
inaction, when I think
mhm.
about like all the things that I have to get done in a day, just when I do it every blue moon, I feel great. I feel
Yes,
wonderful. I have more energy, like you say.
yes,
But then at the end of the day, it's just like when I think about things that I have to do, it becomes the easiest thing to remove from my
yes,
day. Um, but when you talk about the different ways that we can get that activity in, it doesn't have to be at a gym, because I
Mhm.
stink at aerobics, like, doing all this, like
Yeah,
I,
exactly. It's like the steps sometimes. It's
yeah,
like, "What?"
like people are going left, I'm going right, they're going up, I'm going down, like just totally out of it. Um,
Yes.
but when you say, you could do dance, you could just, whatever, just finding that activity that
Mhm.
is fun. But what can we do to help get over lethargy, inaction, inconsistency? Because I know, starting with myself, it's something that I need to overcome and conquer.
Mhm. I like to, say start out small and then get bigger. So, it could be waking up 10 minutes early to stretch, get
Hmm.
out of bed, do 4 sets of 5 push-ups, and you can be on your knees, and then do sit-ups. Um, but if you start small and consistent, and then writing it down, when we write it down, it I mean, it it changes, number 1, accountability. Like, one of the things, if you're doing investments, if you got your money in investments and they're doing terrible, you're losing money left and right, you're gonna make a change,
Right.
right? Because you don't wanna lose money. We have to look at health and wellness, I think, the same way. If you're not where you wanna be, you have to do something to change. So starting out small doesn't have to be 2 hours in the gym. It doesn't even have to be an hour in the gym. On We have this beautiful thing called, like, the internet, right? And it can be on our phones, it can be on a computer, where you can download or pull up on YouTube anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes of fitness classes
Hmm.
that you can do in the privacy of your own home. Now, if you're in your own home and you're not doing the work, then I'm going to recommend that you go out somewhere where you're held accountable and you're
Right.
forced to, whether it's joining a class or getting a friend. The buddy system for me is huge because then you're accountable to that person and they're accountable to you and you're trying to both reach your goal. So there's support there, but also it's the accountability and that
Yeah.
honesty with yourself. And especially when you don't feel like it, you have to do it. It's a mindset. You have to do it. Just like if you, for praying every day, for doing your morning prayer, your meditation, your journaling, whatever, when you make it, you have to do it consistently so that
Right.
if you miss, you feel like, oh, I'm missing that thing that I needed. That's what starts my day.
Yeah.
Add the movement to that. Add
Yeah.
your movement to your whatever and I like morning. I'm a morning person. I know not everybody's a morning person, but if you force yourself to get up 15 minutes earlier, you get it done, you get it out of the way, because really, just like you said, by the end of the day, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm too tired.
Right.
I can't do it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. It's easier to put off. But when you do it first thing in the morning, get it out of the way. So
Hmm.
then you can have your day. And then you
Right.
finish the day feeling great. You're sleeping great. So then you're even getting up earlier, maybe spending a little more time on yourself, because it's important to be able to um, share our our
Right.
gifts that we have with others. And when you have the energy to do that, how much more joy, knowledge are you able to spread? And
Right.
peace.
Yeah. No, those are really good tips. Any other things, like for someone, and before I say this, I was going to say this is true, I think, whether you're young or old, because whether you are in your 20s or 40s, even in the 60s, like I see this lady on Instagram, I think she's probably in her late 60s, and she looks
Mhm.
incredible, and her
Yes.
whole page is about fitness and a
Mhm.
lifestyle. And when you talk about the difference between muscle and fat, I mean, like,
Mhm.
she is lean, and you can tell that, like, her body fat is probably zero, if that's possible.
Mhm.
And all muscle, but she's not big, but
Yes.
she's toned,
Yes.
and she looks fabulous. So I think
Mhm.
that, as you say, that it's for our life, and for me,
Yes.
it's my prayer for myself the same way that I approach, trying to be a good steward over my finances, being a good steward over my relationship with the Lord as far as prayer and reading the
Mhm.
word, that I apply those same principles as it relates to fitness, because it's all a part of the same package. Like,
Yeah.
the word says, the scripture, I think a myth too is because the scripture says in 1 Timothy 4:7-8 that exercise is profited little. People have sometimes taken that as a rationale not to
Mhm.
exercise, and that it's not something that we need to do. But the context of that was not necessarily specific to just exercise, as much as it relates to how we live and conducting ourselves. Like, the focus is not just on exercise. It doesn't mean
Yes.
that we should not exercise.
Yes. It's creating a balance of mind, body, and spirit. If your body is not healthy, how can you give the attention that you need to your spiritual work?
Right.
It 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 goes hand in hand. When you're tired, when you're worn out, when you're in a bad mood, movement, nature, healthy food is going to change all of that.
Yeah.
Like
And
that's the magic pill. Everybody's
mhm,
looking, I feel like a lot of us are looking for that magic thing, that quick thing that's going to get me there. And then I can go back to what got me unhealthy, in the first place. Um, so yeah, move in a way, try something different.
right. Yeah.
There's no wrong way if you're putting effort into the consistency of keeping muscle on your body, um, to be healthy and live longer.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you share are your closing thoughts?
um closing thoughts for me is don't stop starting.
That's awesome.
Every day, start again. Every day. It's a marathon, it's not a race.
Hmm.
And once we wrap our heads around that this is something that just needs to become part of our lives, every day, begin again. Every day.
Yes, I love that, because I
Yeah.
begin again every day. Maybe
Yes.
not every day, every week. I'm going to do better this week. I'm going to do better.
Exactly.
So
Try to
I
do a
think,
little bit better than the day before, a little bit more, maybe one more rep, one more step, one more half a flight, one more full flight of steps, one more parking space. Like when you pull into that parking space, really think and look at the door. It's like I could go a little bit farther. And that's your win for the day.
right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, 15,000 steps on the Apple Watch. Set it to stand up every day. Sit on the medicine ball and notice the difference and how your core feels and how stable you feel. The more
Mhm.
stable you are, the more your feet are planted on the ground, the more firmly you can share your gifts and your messages.
Right. That's good. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank
This
you.
has been awesome. Definitely some excellent reminders. And yeah, I'm going to start again today.
Yes, begin again. And it's perfect. And that's without judgment. Begin again. We're human. Our bodies, our minds are kind of designed to keep us safe. And it looks at increased heart rate as a threat. So we have to bypass the noise of that mind, to know
Yes.
that it's for good. But when you're honest and when you are consistent with your tracking, you'll know. Obviously, if it's sharp pain or chronic pain, you have to get that addressed. But there are so many ways. If it's a knee, that you can still move. If it's a
Yes.
back, you can still move. If it's a shoulder, you can still move. Um, so you just have to make that a priority.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
These
you, Dr.
definitely are excellent tips, and first for myself getting started.
Yes. Again, begin again.
That's all the time we have for this week's episode. Tune in next week for another episode of Live Exceptionally. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with others on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform. Stay connected with us at elisi.org. Have an exceptional week. God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Live Exceptionally with Dr. Evonne Thompson. Each week, we'll explore the secrets to living a life that is both intentional and fulfilling. We'll talk to folks that will share about productivity, mindfulness, and self-care to learn practical tips and strategies for staying focused, managing our time, and finding balance within a kingdom mindset. We'll also hear from people who have made the choice to live exceptionally and learn from their experiences and insights. Connect with Dr. Evonne by signing up at elici.org. That's ELICI.org.